let me invite Jim Jones for some reflections. And we're entering a community input period. Before I ask Jim to reflect on the day's proceedings, I want to share that the National Academy of Engineering is, of course, as it's growing the focus program, we are deeply interested in the unifiable systems aspects, and we would like to conduct sustained engagement opportunities with the community, not do one-off events that may or may not lead to something. So we are keen about that, and that's why we wanted to have this open mic session where people can share with us from what they have heard today, what the National Academy of Engineering could be doing going forward, and what are the possible areas where much work needs to be done, where nothing is being done, or where things could be bettered in a way. So we are open for ideas. Whether you are able to share with us today or not, please feel free to send us your ideas as you reflect on the proceedings of today and as you borrow from your own professional experiences through emails, focus@nae.edu. We would be glad to hear from you. Jim, before we go for some open comments from our participants, I would like to hear from you what you thought of today's event.
Okay, well, I actually had a question for Dr. Otieno.
Go ahead, please.
I don't know if it's appropriate now, but
please go ahead.
One of the things that, I mean, we're in a crisis situation here almost in our food and agricultural systems, and they are very complex and multi-scaled and multi-disciplines and so forth. And what you've laid out at your university seemed to be a really practical way of getting ideas on the table and getting disciplines to interact with each other. Rick Miller talked about some possibilities for maybe replicating how experiences in convergence or interdisciplinary kinds of research activities could help solve problems. I wondered if you, and we have to deal at different scales, as Tom Hurdle pointed out, and across scale influences and uncertainties and so forth. And I wondered if you could reflect on that in terms of replicating or scaling up the approaches that you're discussing here, and also dealing with multiple scales like we talked about earlier today.
I think you have to put, there are people who love this challenge, and I don't think we are unique. I think you can find similar sets of people in other places. But we normally we design ourselves to talk with people who kind of look like us. And stepping back and giving a talk to other people explaining what is that you do and what are the issues that drive you. If you can find enough people who do this from other places, then it's like an explosion of things. It's like giving people like a lit match and you get like a forest fire. And this is what I meant when I said that this was a center, it's called NICOR, it's the Northwestern Institute of Complex Systems, that has generated other centers. Why? Because people coming here, and by the way, there is a never-ending series of talks. And at some point, a group of people will discover, wow, we all seem to be interested in this thing, which is, yeah, it's connected with all the other parts, but maybe we got something in here that we can move separately. And initially, we motivated some of these things with money. Money to cross-link people by funding people at intersections. But eventually, that was not the main driver. The main driver was, so for example, how is that I discovered that paper from Thomas Hobbin on, Schelling, on from micromotives to macro behavior. The guy who I had a conversation, and the conversation was very, very unclear about what I wanted to do, was with a fellow named Roger Myerson. who a few years after the conversation won the Nobel Prize of Economics. But I would never have come across that book without that conversation. So you need to be able to connect with people that normally you wouldn't connect in your everyday interactions. There are groups that are hard to connect. I have found that the number of people in economics to connect with is not enormous, but there are some people who are willing to have discussions, and then you can move forward. The same thing with people in pure math. It's very hard to, I mean, the career doesn't survive by listening and getting ideas from people outside math, but once in a while, you find someone like, I don't know, like John Conway. Mm-hmm. He died a couple of years back, and those conversations are absolutely enriching. I mean, the whole point is this: people pay an enormous amount of money to be in curated events like a TED conference, and you can more or less construct an event like that within a single university if you look where to find people. It takes much more effort to do what you have done here, which is collecting people from I don't know how many institutions. I don't know if you counted how many. That takes a lot of effort, but that's what it takes.
Well, thank you very much. I think your talk was very inspiring to me, at least, and it raised a lot of questions about, you know, how we might learn from some of the things that you've done in moving this whole process forward. There's just tremendous amount of interest, and so I'll make a few comments, Guru, if I may.
Please go ahead.
And I think that what we've heard today has been inspiring to me. One of the goals was to inspire engineers and others to address some of these problems more holistically. And I think we heard a consistent message from all the different people who were involved, from industry and academia and socioeconomics and policy, that we need to transform our systems. And I think the way I look at it, there's an urgency there that we really need to do this. There was some commonalities in the suggestions from different people about metrics and models and complexity and so forth. But, you know, we need time to kind of sort that out and really make sense of it. But I was encouraged by that commonality about the need for transformations among also the foundations, the ecological and philanthropy foundations. One other point that I think is very important is that systems perspectives are essential. And we learned, and we covered this today, that there's not one systems perspective that is going to satisfy the needs to address complexities and complicatedness of our systems that we have. We need different perspectives. There'll be different models and different analysis done at different scales, and the work that Tom Hurdle gave, again, pointed that out. And I think some of the things that Julio alluded to and Richard and others talked about, Rick as well as others talked about, are important. And the interdisciplinary work just doesn't just include models, as I think Rick pointed out also, that it involves bringing these three circles together and the intersection of these policy, engineering, and socioeconomic and policy, engineering, and human behavior circles together, and it's that intersection where innovations will take place. We learned also that, okay, going towards circularity is important, but you shouldn't be expecting to get full, complete circularity as we look toward improving the sustainability and resilience of our systems. We're all driven by the power of the sun, as Luis Fresco pointed out. But there were some really good examples given by Bruno and by Callie and by Greg and others on ways to address this. And also Louise talked about a couple of these examples that she has experienced there in the Netherlands. So I think we can really build on this. I hope that what we come out of this with, a report or publications, can help inform some of the other National Academy efforts that Chuck Rice mentioned this morning and that Guru has alluded to here as well. One of the things I want to mention that wasn't really addressed here, but the different professional societies that are endorsed and are supporting this meeting today. There is a lot of interest among the different professional societies to work together to try to bring their disciplines together in a convergent way to be able to address some of the complexities and complex and complicated components that we have to deal with. And that includes, really looking for ways to take some of the uncertainty out of the emergent properties that, when we can, by knowing more about the mechanistics of what's happening. So I'm really pleased about this, and the American Society of Agriculture and Biological Engineering and the Tri-Societies of Agronomy, Soil Science, and Crop Science, the Agricultural and Application, Applied Economics, and other professional societies are keen on working together. And so I'm hoping that through these different activities that we have, we'll be able to find ways to spread this information that we've learned today, and through the National Academies and the work that you've done. But I would really like to end my comments, Guru, on thanking you and Daryl and Al and John again for hosting this and making this your first focus forum. I'm very proud of that, and I think we had a good crowd today, probably from different countries and different disciplines, and I'm looking forward to the next steps on all this.
Indeed, Jim, and close to about 300 people on this Zoom platform at one point, and we have had over 500 people watching the live stream. So in a number of ways, we are gratified. There was a point that I wanted to reflect on, which is like there are some of the competencies that are already available in agricultural practice that could fruitfully benefit other parts of engineering, other arenas of engineering, other practices of engineering, notably the agricultural extension concept. And that's especially the notion of field siting a problem. And I think that could be particularly valuable for other more technical disciplines in engineering, and I think that's worth exploring. I know Rick Miller in one of his past lectures has also talked about the conservatory model of how musicians are trained, and so there are a number of educational pathways that we need to carefully look into. And education is, especially systems related competencies and capabilities, the theme is of integral interest to the FOCUS program. We're also interested in creating a health systems theme, and of course, food and agriculture really tie in very well there as well. So, and we're also interested in national academies have been in the business for over 150 years of providing advice to the government when asked, and we also are keen on creating a C-suite type decision assist program within the FOCUS. So how do you help private companies do scenario analysis amidst complexity? And this is something that a lot of consulting firms and a lot of universities have done in the past. But I think the capability that we have at the National Academies, bringing very different types of brains and putting them to work on a complex problem like this. I think we want to capitalize on that, and we want advice and ideas for that. And that's one of the opportunities we wanted to take today to just advertise. We are in the market for ideas. We welcome them anytime. Again, our email is focus@nae.edu. And as we've all learned through the COVID pandemic, gifting someone time back into their lives is the greatest thing one could do. So this moment, we would like to adjourn and thank everyone for your participation. And thank you, Jim, for all the hard work you put into to orchestrate this entire effort. Thank you all very much, and we look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Thank all the speakers. Thank you.